Is it true that Eric Worre, Holton Buggs, Mike Sims, and Brian Cruthers, and countless other influencers in network marketing were just part of one of the largest Ponzi and pyramid schemes in the last 2 or 3 years? Well, that's the answer that we're going to try to cover in this upcoming video series. Hi, my name is Troy Dooley. I'm the Beachside CEO. And over the last couple of 3 years, I've covered behind the scenes trader domain, because a lot of the names of high influential people were talking about the fact that they had invested their own personal money into this. I've done a lot of due diligence on this since I put my first post up on Facebook a few weeks ago after the CFTC had shut this company down and they had decided that they were going to take control of it. A lot of information had come out, but when I put that post up, two of the individuals were very straightforward and bold, Eric Worre and Brian Cruthers. And they made it very clear they had invested their money into this company, but they were very frustrated about what had happened. And it caused some controversy. And I thought, you know what, we're going to cover this from the case standpoint, not about who is right, who is wrong, that's what the courts are here to decide. I do want you to know that I'm going to put up on the ticker here the actual website to the receiver. The company is taken over now, so there's a receiver, there's a special website where you can go find out current information. They just put up a couple of the most current documents on there. But I want to cover just the first 8 pages of 106 page allegations. And I want to be very clear about this as well. The names of the individuals that I just mentioned, other names that we're going to be bringing up over the next few weeks, other names that I'll bring up right now. All of these individuals are innocent until proven guilty. As a matter of fact, Brian Cruthers and Eric Worre have not been mentioned in this suit, but they happen to be well-known network marketers. I'd even go so far as to say that Traders Domain was not set up as an MLM and network marketing company as the allegations state. Matter of fact, I've talked to people that have known about Traders Domain since 2017. And they said, Troy, in the early days, it's really kind of a private membership. People that were putting money in would put in $100,000 and they would let these guys do the investing, and they were doing it all, and they made good returns. And then some network marketing professionals got involved. And I think that's where the regulators started looking at this. In 2022, I actually put up a post and said, hey, if you're in Traders Domain, be careful. There's a red flag report on this by the CFTC. That is actually mentioned in this complaint, not my post, but the fact that people should have known there were issues. And that's part of what these allegations are. And this is part of the education that we're going to cover in here. My goal isn't to tell you this person's bad or this person's good or this person's innocent or this person's guilty. My goal in this series is to educate you on what is it that the regulators are looking for. What is it that potentially good-hearted people fell into? And that's what caused the problem. Some people, and the regulators are this way. Matter of fact, the regulators were this way in 2013 when I settled with the SEC because one of my clients became, at that time, the world's largest Ponzi scheme. And they said, Mr. Dooley, as an influencer, as a gatekeeper in the direct selling arena, you should have known that this company was not legit. Now, to a certain degree, I knew about that. We actually reported on that. But the information we'd been given is that had been fixed. We were lied to. That was my bad. I should have dug into more due diligence. Here's the issue. Back then, the regulators didn't put up any red flags. A lot of the critics did. And we fall into this trap of if somebody says something, then we say, oh, they must be haters. They must be jealous. They must be this or that. Well, that's not always true. Is it true? Sometimes, sure. But every ounce of criticism, there's an ounce of truth in that, and we need to be digging into it. We need to be looking at that. So I want to look at this real quick from the standpoint of what is it that Trader Domain may or may not have done. The allegation is from at least November of 2019. Notice a minute ago I said 2017. That's because the first 2 years networkers weren't involved. This thing wasn't giant. It wasn't exploding. It was behind the scenes. Some people could make money in it. But here's the deal. Since at least 19, this thing exploded. One of the main partners of Frederick Teddy Joseph Safranco, I may have said that wrong, is the mastermind behind this. Now, people say, well, how can these guys do this if they're not licensed to do this? And part of the allegation is that the company was not licensed, had never been approved through the CFTC. I can say that Frederick Teddy Joseph was not registered through the CFTC as well. However, he is a broker out of Canada. I pulled his FINRA report. This is public info. We'll see if we can put a link up to this as well. But in here, he has a principal supervisory exams. I'm looking at what his licenses are. They're usually listed in this report. We'll find this real quick. This is what makes these fun. Okay, here we go. He has a Series 24, which is General Security and Principles exam. He's got a Series 26, Investment Company Product, Variable Contracts, Principal Examination. He's got a Series 7, General Security. He's got his Series 6, Investment Company Products. He's been licensed since 2005. We're talking about someone who is very well versed in financial investments. Okay, so he was the one running this, and that shows at least it didn't start out to be, I don't think, a Ponzi or a pyramid scheme. It really looks like these guys knew what they were doing. They were trying to make this work. Now his partner, which is David, I can't pronounce these names. He has nothing that I can find that's listed on that. But the allegations, it's that these guys were taking investment money. They were dealing in unregistered securities, basically. The allegation is that the CFTC is stating these guys orchestrated a multi-layered scheme to solicit funds for the purpose of trading leveraged or margin retail commodities transactions, specifically gold to US dollar pairs, as well as assorted other commodities through a pool and individual accounts. Not only did the TD, Traders Domain defendants, directly solicit customers, the vast majority of whom lived in the United States, but they also engaged in individuals and entity sponsors to solicit U.S. customers on behalf of TD. And that's truly what they're stating, is that these guys were selling securities, unregistered, soliciting people's money. Now, Traders Domain later was succeeded by Arias Global, known retailly as True Blue FX. Same company, basically they just moved it into the new company. Now, neither one of the owners, nor TD, nor True Blue FX have ever been registered with the CFTC. It says TD and Safranco also falsified trading records, and that the TD defendants failed to register as required under the Securities and Exchange Act. And that's exactly what they've done. Now, as we move through this and we look at the other defendants, there is an argument that the defense attorneys may make that, hey, these guys were trying to be legit, they didn't know the rules. Even in civil court, ignorance is no excuse of the law. And the way the regulators work, and I think this is probably what really ticks off retail traders, those of you that didn't have $100,000, so you pooled your money and you put in 25 or 10 or 5 or whatever. This is what frustrates people, is that, hey, I trusted somebody else. Well, and this is the way that regulators get you. Even if these guys say, well, we didn't know, regulators will say, you should have known. And since 2022, when the CFTC published the red flag, everybody should have known. This is where anybody that's an influencer, when I mentioned Eric Worre, when I mentioned Brian Cruthers, when I mentioned Holton Buggs, when I mentioned Michael Sims, all these guys, regulators will state, well, you should have known. Now, I also want to state in here, Mike Sims, a lot of people that are in direct sales have accused Mike Sims. Well, Eric Worre had him at a special mastermind event. Okay, although Mike Sims was not registered with the CFTC, one of the firms that he's a principal in was registered. So again, Mike is someone I've known for decades. Okay, I've known all these guys for decades. Some of them are friends, some of them are acquaintances. Some of them are just business colleagues. We've shared stages together. When I go and look at Mike, okay, Mike actually has a background as well in investing, in financial products. He knows what he was doing. So for someone to say, well, Eric Worre brought him in to talk at our event, that would make sense. I wasn't at the event. I don't know the itinerary of the event, what the intent was. I know Eric enough to know that if he's having a mastermind and people have spent tens of thousands of dollars to show up there, that he's wanting to give value to that. So he may have had Mike Sims come in to talk about the financial side of this. And actually, if you go back and look at a video that Eric has done, we'll see if we can't link that in here. He speaks about this on this. So you got to understand that just because you read something on a critic's website doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth. You need to go to the underlying story. And again, I want to reiterate, in American law, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I don't care what the public comments are, what the critics say. Okay, until a court of law finds someone guilty, then don't, just because you've lost money or just because you're pissed off or anything else, don't be blaming these guys. But I will state once again, the regulators are stating each defendant knowingly or with reckless disregard for the truth engaged in the fraudulent scheme. This is their allegation. I believe that every person that's listed in the original complaint, as well as everyone that's attached to it because of who they are and what they are, I'm not convinced, and I know it may seem strange, but it's just the way I feel about people. I don't believe most people maliciously go out there. And because I know these individuals, I don't think that they went out there after malice to trash people, to lose their own money. Okay, now, some of you may say, but Troy, did they really have money in it? I don't know that. I can only go with the words that they have publicly stated that they did invest money into it. I wish as influencers, and as in this case, the men that I know, there's some other people we'll talk about down the road, I know that they probably should have, and maybe they think they did, or maybe they wish they would have, done more due diligence. Brian Cruthers said, man, I heard there was great returns, and they're people that I trust and I respect, so I put my money in it. I know Eric and Mike have been friends for a long time. He trusts Mike. Mike said, put money in it, you're going to make money. Eric puts money into it. Okay, I get that. We do that. But do your due diligence. I work with some partners, and we do a lot of investing in other companies, and we do a lot of due diligence before we put money into a project, because the only way to make sure that you're covered is to do that due diligence. And when the partnership said, Troy, will you come on and work with us? It was to make sure that they're doing the due diligence, because that's one of the things that I'm known for. So you have to be able to do that. I want to get on because I don't want to take your time up a lot on this. Trader's Domain is an international business company formed in 2017 under the laws of St. Vincent's in the Grenadine Isles, and its principal operations is in Canada. Just because the U.S. has said we're going to take over, the only thing right now they seem to be able to do is shut down or close or grab a hold of U.S. assets. Okay, now if there was nothing in these companies in the United States, then understand they're gonna have to now work with the Canadian government. They'll have to work with the Grenadine Isles government. They'll work with anywhere else that there's an entity at. They'll be able to get the U.S. accounts, and the receiver will quickly start into that. But now it's going to take time, because they're going to have to go through and they're going to have to do their stuff. I mentioned the red flag list that came out on July 14th, 2022, and we talked about that across the board. Guys, be careful. This is what they're saying. You know, now, and I'll be honest, I don't know why regulators, if they think there's a problem, why they leave them open. Just shut them down then. You know, do something, get them, do whatever. So that's gonna happen. Now, since August of 20, San Franco has been an approved principal of a U.S.-based SAEG Capital. And that company was sued by the commission in the District Court of Southern Texas for making false statements to the National Futures Association, in violation, and they give the code that they were. Mike Sims was working in that company at the time with the guys doing something. But again, these companies and these individuals were never registered with the SEC. It says here that, and I'm just doing what's important here, True Blue FX is a limited liability out of St. Lucie. And beginning in June of 2023, it assumed all business operations of Trader Domain, including taking control of customer accounts, communicating with companies or customers, and purportedly trading customer funds. So now we've shifted different islands. So again, this is going to be more complicated. This case is going to be going on forever. True Blue FX has never been registered with the CFTC. There's a possibility that since the founders of Trader Domain were in Canada, they're doing all this business, their entities are out of different islands. They may have thought they didn't even need to be registered in the United States. Again, ignorance is no excuse of the law, and we need to remember that. But that could have happened as well. What's that mean for you guys? Well, nothing if they can get all your money back. If they can't get your money back, then here's what will happen, and y'all need to understand this. They will go through the database. Once they grab it, if you're a net winner, that means that you put in 50 grand and you made 51,000 back. Well, then you're a $1,000 net winner. They'll claw back. They'll start a clawback. At Zeke Rewards, they clawed back all the way down to $1,000. That means all the names that I mentioned, all the names you guys have heard about that have purportedly made hundreds of millions of dollars, hopefully they didn't spend that money, because the regulators are going to come back and look for it. I will say this, if you are one of those people, contact me. We actually do have a law firm that has worked well with people in settlements like this so that they can at least try to settle with the regulator for less than a dollar on a dollar. Maybe they can get 50 cents, 75 cents, maybe they can get 10 cents on a dollar that you've got to pay back. So you need to know that. Also, when this case is over, any of the money that the regulator hasn't been able to get back from net winners, they'll sell the database to a debt collection and it will go on your credit report. And that's the part that sucks right there. So you need to know that. I want to hurry up here, see if there's anything else that's here. We're not going to go through all the list. I want to talk about Mike real quick. Who else did we have on here we need to talk about? Holton Bugs is on here listed as someone who was soliciting people to come in. That's part of it. Mike Sims. Sims was an approved principal of an entity registered with the CFTC as a commodity pool. Mike, again, I told you, is a well-versed person in the financial services space. It does say that Sims was never registered with the CFTC in any capacity. This sometimes happens too because it's the entity that's actually registered, not the individuals working with the entity. So that will have some of it. Holton Bugs is a resident of Texas. He's never been registered with the CFTC. Basically, only one person and one entity was registered, and that's part of it. These guys, A, weren't registered to do anything with people's money. B, they never registered the securities. So that's second. Third, they're going to try to claim fraud. They're going to try to claim pyramid. This is going to be ongoing. We're going to continue to cover this. Are these guys innocent or guilty? It's not what we're here for. We are here to tell a story. I may tell their stories because I believe it's the truth that needs to be heard so that we can understand what it is we can stop doing. And one of the main principles I want you guys to take out of this before I end it is you need to do your own due diligence. Somebody comes to you about a business opportunity. Somebody comes to you about an investment opportunity. I don't care how well you know them. You can trust, but verify. Go look up the information. And then never ever put money into any type of business or investment that you cannot afford to lose. If you spend $100 a week on lottery tickets, then that's all the money that you need to be putting into something if you can afford to lose it. I've been investing for a long time. I've been a speculator for a long, long time. We invest in high-risk projects, high-risk entities. But I never risk what my family's legacy is. And that's what you've got to remember. Never, ever do that. Listen, I want you guys to live well and finish strong. And we'll see you on the next one.